to the programme. The Building Racial Literacy programme itself. After the murder of George Floyd and the rise of the Black Lives Matter movement, children and young people met with the Deputy First Minister to speak out and share their lived experiences of racism. The children wanted teachers to think about how to better reflect Black and minority ethnic history and experience, as well as the importance of tackling racism in society today. From this meeting, a race equality and anti-racism in education programme was established, and it focused on 4 particular areas: school leadership and professional learning, curriculum reform, diversity in the teaching profession and education workforce, and racism and racist incidents. In listening to the experiences of the children and young people, and with the guidance of the programme board, Education Scotland worked with partners to create professional learning for Scotland's educators to build the racial literacy. This meant making a learning programme for teachers and practitioners to build their anti-racist skills and increase their awareness of the impact of race on the learners, families, and communities that they support. The programme was designed by partners with a strong influence in education and with a wealth of anti-racist knowledge. The first version of this programme began in January 2022, with the first cohort of educators taking part. And as Marion said, I was part of that first cohort. Over 80 educators from all over Scotland, working in nurseries, schools, universities, local authorities, and third sector organisations, were all learning to be anti-racist. One of the aims of the programme was to make people working in education less race evasive, which means that educators don't avoid talking about race, and instead of ignoring racism, they feel confident challenging racism and helping those who experience it. So on the programme, we've been listening to children and young people's experience of race and finding out what they'd like to see us doing differently, learning about our own racial identities and how that might impact our teaching practice day to day, sharing good practice and ideas, and drawing up our own individual action plans. During this course, one white participant stated, "I hadn't imagined some of the experiences of people of colour. I was quite taken aback about how I hadn't considered certain things, such as how a child of colour might feel in a class of white people. As well as this, we realised that this would also include a child of colour not seeing examples of themselves or their history represented in the curriculum." The programme was also an opportunity for teachers who experience racism to connect and find support and know that they are not alone. A practitioner of colour stated, "The most valuable lesson that I have learned so far is that I am not alone. I may be the only person of colour in my school, but I'm part of this huge community of educators who want to make the right change for the young people in our care." So as part of these anti-racist action plans, some of the intentions were to engage with families, develop from a very basic understanding of racism, develop a more inclusive and anti-racist curriculum, start anti-racist clubs, encourage more diversity and anti-racist discussions in meetings, challenge racial slurs and racial microaggressions, and bring anti-racism to the fore when planning and preparing our lessons. And many, many more. We also thought about and discussed what an anti-racist curriculum would look like. So in school already, we talk about an inclusive curriculum, which is an approach that acknowledges the diversity of learners within a learning environment. It would also include removing or at least minimising barriers that hinder participation. An anti-racist curriculum is one that looks for opportunities in curriculum to raise learner awareness of the issues of racism, to offer spaces for discussion on the topic, and it makes links to other forms of societal oppressions. In terms of decolonising the curriculum, this involves a critical analysis of how colonial forms of knowledge, teaching strategies, and research methodologies have shaped what we know, what we recognise, and how we reward such knowledge accordingly. So in terms of teachers and in terms of lesson planning, anti-racist teachers need to ask themselves, why have I chosen a particular topic to teach? Is it because it's always been done? Whose perspective is it taught from? Whose perspective is missing? Why is it missing? Who does this impact upon? And how does it link with modern Scotland today?